And will now introduce the valedictorian.
So it's my great pleasure to introduce this year's valedictorian. And as you probably know, the valedictorian is chosen by the members of the graduating class as the person who best exemplifies the law school spirit. And I'm very, very delighted to announce that this year's valedictorian is Lane Cram. I'm going to say a few words about you as you're wandering up here and sort of embarrass you about all the amazing things that you've done. And I'm sure, so I think it might be the first time there was sort of a standing ovation in the offing for the announcement of a valedictorian, which probably says a lot about Lane. He's done a massive amount of work in the law school across a whole array of different activities, and really, when I said, you know, when you leave us, you've left us better, Lane is a fantastic example of this. Let me just mention a few. So he volunteered as a protection intern for the UN High Commission for Refugees in Uganda, and also for the Burma Lawyers Council in Thailand. He assisted clients at home in the tenant housing and criminal law divisions at DLS. He was a great mooder. He acted as a senior member of the Indigenous Law Journal, and he was very, very active in our wonderful high school outreach, the Laws program. That only touches the tip of the iceberg, but gives you a little bit of a sense of the great things that Lane has done. And then let me just, as was done with the wonderful recognition of Martha, read out a comment of what your classmates said when they nominated you. They said, "Lane is such a warm, welcoming, compassionate person. He goes out of his way to brighten people's day. He also has a wicked sense of humor and is legendary at the faculty for his moves on the dance floor at pub night." He's one of those people whose charisma and charm elevates every room he's in. How beautifully put. Congratulations, Lane.
Thank you, Dean Ryan. Good afternoon, everyone, and congratulations, graduates. We are officially JDs, Juris Doctors. Not only does this mean that we have law degrees, but we can totally pretend to be real doctors for those who don't know any better. Sort of how my brother, the dentist, does that as well. I have to say that having only ever rehearsed this in the mirror, this is a little overwhelming. Not to mention that this is a much more attractive audience than I am used to. See what I'm doing, buttering up the audience, because then you'll, It's an honor to be up here, but I have to admit that I am a little nervous. Sam York didn't help me this week when he helpfully reminded me that his parents would be here 1 week after attending his sister's convocation at Harvard, where Oprah spoke. Well, I would love to give you all cars and to tell you about my favorite books. Scotiabank already owns my right arm. And I can guarantee that you do not want to read the solicitor's materials for pleasure. I have to admit that when I was preparing for this, I did ask the Google what a valedictory address should include. The first tip that the Google gave me was that I should not talk about toilets. I can see that my mom's already getting nervous thinking I'm going to talk about toilets now, but rest assured, I thought that if this was the best the internet had to offer, that I would just stick to my own experiences. Our years at the faculty have been an important period of personal challenges and transitions. It has also been a period of transitions for the faculty. The building project officially began. Gord Houseman turned into a hipster. Faux Hung fell victim to Toronto's condo boom. And for a brief period, Mayo's Muffin Madness was renamed Dean Duggan's Donut Delirium. I have a hard time believing law school is over. It seems like just yesterday I moved to Toronto. At that time, I literally could not have known less about what I was getting myself into. I legitimately wondered where Bay Street was and why so many people seemed to want to work there. With a little bit of a geography background, I wondered how a map could possibly be helpful on an exam. And now, I can confidently say I know where Bay Street is, I know what a map is, and I know where to find it on the SOS Wiki. And as a bonus, I've learned all the laws. Or at least, I know how to use an index to find the laws that were on embarrassment materials this week. On behalf of the graduating class, I would like to extend a heartfelt welcome to all family and friends in the audience. It is so special to have you with us to celebrate our day, and it is your day as well. I know that every parent and relative and significant other in the audience knows how their graduate is incredibly intelligent, talented, and passionate. You are not mistaken. This is a diverse group of people who possess diverse and special skills, talents, backgrounds, and personalities. Contrary to what most people think about law students, boring and argumentative political studies students, I mean, there are a few of us, in this class there's much, much more. There are musicians and athletes, artists, actors, and writers. There are doctors, chemists, accountants, physicists, engineers, and journalists. Further, there are parents, there are Rhodes Scholars, and there are even some Flip Cup champions. In my time at the faculty, the wide-ranging talents of my classmates has been displayed by monthly editions of Ultra Viras, at law follies and coffee houses, and through various other academic, artistic, and athletic pursuits. We have individuals in this class that have done some simply remarkable things in their time at the faculty. There are students who won trials and hearings as volunteers at Downtown Legal Services, who had articles on wide-ranging topics published in national and local media, were involved in challenges to the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court of Canada, and who worked at the world's top international criminal courts. There are a number of students, another example, who worked with the Equality Effect, an organization that just last week won a case against the Kenyan government in a Kenyan constitutional court. In addition, there are students at the faculty who have founded valuable clubs and associations, and perhaps most significantly, and I'm not just saying this because of the introduction, I didn't know that was going to happen, but there are students here besides me who have really made names for themselves on the dance floor at weekly SLS pub nights. I was usually dancing with them, but I wasn't the good one, the very talented. Further, there are many incredible students who are involved in non-law pursuits during their time here. To give some examples, Andrea Wong sang in the Toronto Mendelssohn Choir throughout law school, and even sang backup to Barbara Streisand earlier this year. Martine Garland completed law school while playing at the highest level of competitive women's hockey. And Rebecca Sutton took 2 years off between first and second year to head up War Child's mission in Darfur, Sudan. As a side note, I heard that Rebecca learned an important lesson in not going to the bathroom while wearing the hood earlier today. I would also like to acknowledge the graduates here today who didn't start at the faculty in September 2010 with most of us. Transfer students, students who did their studies part-time, and students who did concurrent degrees. You have all made an impact in your time at the faculty, and I am so, so thankful that you are graduating with us here today. In addition, I would like to give a very special shout out to those of you who had children or raised families while in law school. Coming from someone, Coming from someone who regularly eats dry pasta dipped in Tabasco sauce as a snack, I hardly took care of myself in the past 3 years. You absolutely astound me. I would also like to extend a huge thank you to the faculty. We truly have some of the top scholars and advocates in the world at this school. But the faculty here are not just respected scholars. Many are extremely talented teachers and fantastic advocates for students' interests. Their involvement in the school is remarkable. For example, Professors Rogerson, Austin, Fernandez, and Assistant Dean Archibald invented delicious concoctions for smoothie days. Professors Stewart and Phillips entertained us at coffee houses. Professors Duggan, Yacobucci, Niblett, and Allery participated memorably in law follies and sported high heels for walk a day in her shoes. While I was unable to attend the graffiti event held in Moot Courtroom in advance of its demolition, pictures from Facebook would suggest that Dean Moran wore her best Oompa Loompa whites that day. The list goes on, and on behalf of the class, I would like to thank the faculty for everything they have done during our time here. In addition, I would like to express our appreciation to all the staff at the faculty. From John and John in the library, I actually originally wrote that as the Johns in the library, but that didn't seem to sound the right message. But from John and John in the library, who stayed up all night so that students could have access to the library the night before the paper deadline, to the women in the coffee shop who somehow managed to deal with 600 coffee-deprived law students every day, to everyone in admin who keeps the school running, thank you. At times, the last few years were extremely challenging. There is a reason that many significant others, friends, and families probably felt snubbed during first-year exams. Thank you for sticking with us. Law school can be emotionally draining. I would like to extend a big thank you to anyone who went out of their way in their time at the faculty to make this a more positive place. Whether you brought your dog to doggy day, were involved in the health and wellness committee, or just made a point of going out of your way to ask people how they were, and to listen and to lend an ear when you yourself had a long list of things to do, thank you. Law school doesn't always lend itself to the real world intervening. I know that there are far too many people here today who have experienced breakups or injuries, had relatives deal with health issues, or lost loved ones over the past number of years. I would like to take this opportunity to talk about someone that we all lost this year. Samantha Clark started at the faculty with most of us in September 2010, and subsequently decided to pursue a joint JD MBA. Sam very sadly passed away in November. Sam was an extremely intelligent woman, and with an unforgettable, a truly unforgettable smile, and it is a tragedy that she could not be here with us today. These real-life interventions remind us that there are more important things than our studies and more important things than our careers. I encourage you to remember that, to take care of yourself, and to make time for loved ones as you enter into a profession that will demand a lot of you. I have already spoken about some of the talents and accomplishments of this group of graduates. More importantly, though, is the welcoming nature of this group and of this community. This is a community and a group of individuals that not only welcomes but celebrates differences in socioeconomic background, political or religious belief, sexual orientation, race, culture, and ethnicity. One of today's graduates, who transferred here after completing a first year at another school, wrote an article in Ultraviers at the end of the semester, saying that he came to the school expecting it to be full of, and I quote, competitive gunners who did not have any fun. Further, and more importantly, he did not know what to expect in his new community, as he came from a different country, a different culture, where he'd been rejected for his sexual orientation. At U of T, he found a community that was invariably accepting and where he was consistently treated with respect and dignity. This is not a perfect place, and we are definitely not entering a perfect profession, but this class is made up of exceptional people who had the incredible opportunity to spend 3 or more years building lifelong friendships with people of varying backgrounds and experiences. This is an opportunity that we have all benefited from, and for which we should all be very thankful. As I spoke about earlier, this is an extremely accomplished group, but even more exciting than what this group has already accomplished is what I know this group of students will accomplish in the future. I have not one doubt in my mind that I am looking out at, amongst other things, future politicians, judges, leading lawyers in criminal, family, labor law, professors, social justice advocates, successful business people, and of course, a few partners on Bay Street. It would also not surprise me if some of you pursued non-law career paths. For example, I would be shocked if the star of the Ultra Vires Carl by Carl ad, Carl Beerstrom, does not pursue a modeling career with Marlboro. Whatever your chosen career path and wherever you end up, I know that you will all make incredible contributions to your profession and to society. I do not feel like I have any wisdom to bestow on you. Too many people, as Dee Moran mentioned, have seen me embarrass myself on the dance floor for me being taken seriously anyway. But I strongly believe that if you continue to surround yourself with good people and pursue the things that excite you, you will reap the benefits of the work that you've put in while at the faculty. I would like to thank my peers for this opportunity to speak today. I am so proud and so humbled to be up here. Prior to this, I would say that my biggest law school achievement may have been winning, along with Jonathan Chow, the very competitive, very illustrious Professor Sanderson First Year Property Small Group Haiku Challenge. On that note, I would like to end in haiku. U of T, class of 2013. Here we sit, finally JDs. And look, Mom and Dad, I barely mentioned toilets. Congrats, graduates.
It's now my pleasure to announce several awards recognizing the top academic achievers in our graduating class. The Angus McMurtry Gold Medal is a gift of friends of the late Angus McMurtry, who was a former governor of the university. We're also fortunate to have the Gallant Ho Prize, named for Mr. Gallant Ho, the founder and owner of a leading law firm in Hong Kong, and a generous supporter of the university. Both the Gold Medal and the Gallant Ho Prize are awarded to the student in the graduating year with the highest cumulative average while at the law school. This year's Gold Medal and the Gallant Ho Prize go to Richard Lysias.
I guess there wasn't a class in getting from.
My toss isn't good enough. Yeah, I know. My son's been trying to train me with a football, but I'm not doing so well. Here we go. Congratulations. Good for you. Good for you. That's fantastic. They'll want a picture.
The WPM Kennedy Silver Medal honors WPM Kennedy, Dean of the Law School from 1944 to 1949, and is awarded to the student in the graduating class with the second highest cumulative average while at law school. This year's Silver Medal goes to Rebecca Winiger. The James B. Milner Bronze Medal, named for James B. Milner, professor at the Faculty of Law from 1950 to 1969, is awarded to the student in the graduating class with the third highest cumulative average while at law school. This year's Bronze Medal is awarded to Paul Davis. Gerald W. Schwartz medals and accompanying prizes were endowed in honor of Gerald Schwartz. They were endowed by friends Ann Wilson and Robert Pritchard, who were our alum of 1975, in recognition of Gerald Schwartz's 9 years of distinguished service as a governor of the University of Toronto. They are awarded annually to the students in the graduating class achieving the highest cumulative averages over 4 years in the combined JD MBA program. This year's gold medal for the student with the highest cumulative average in the JD MBA program is awarded to Sean Adair.
Thank you very much.
This year's silver medal for the student with the second highest cumulative average in the JD MBA program is awarded to Seth Clare.
I want your picture.
This year's bronze medal for the student with the third highest cumulative average in the JD MBA program is awarded to Peter Blanchard.
Peter, congratulations. What a great accomplishment. I want your picture. It's fantastic. Good for you.
The Justice Michael J. Moldaver Prize, gift of the Honorable Mr. Justice Michael Moldaver, is awarded annually to the students standing first in the third year class. This year's Moldaver Prize is awarded to Richard Lizis.
You found a quicker route this time. Congratulations. That's fantastic. Good for you. You should hold these. Not these.
The Class of 1967 Prize, a gift of the members of the Class of 1967, is awarded to the students standing second in the third year class. The prize for standing second in the third year class is awarded to Rebecca Whittinger.
Great work. Congratulations.
The Class of 1967 Prize for the student standing third in the third year class is awarded to Fan Ming Meng. We'll now present the Stephanie Fleur-Cousin Medal for Mooting. The Stephanie Fleur-Cousin Medal for Mooting was established in memory of Stephanie Fleur-Cousin. She was the class of 2009 through the generous support of her family, the firm of Lensner Slate, and many friends and colleagues. Stephanie was an outstanding mooter and competed in the Grand Moot while in law school. The medal will be awarded annually to a student who has demonstrated outstanding performance in the mooting program and a strong commitment as both a participant and a coach. This year's Stephanie Fleur-Cousin medal goes to Michael Portner-Garkey. During his 3 years at U of T, Michael was very active in the mooting program. In first year, he competed for the winning U of T team in the Castles Brock Cup against Osgood. In second year, he participated in the Grand Moot, where the question at issue was whether firefighters could enter into a home in a non-emergency situation when they suspected it of containing a meth lab. Also in second year, Michael competed for U of T in the National Corporate Securities Moot, which U of T won. He then coached 2 first-year teams in the Castle Brock Cup. In third year, Michael, who should have stayed, there's much more here. In third year, Michael co-wrote the problem for the Grand Moot, co-organized it, and coached the mooters. The problem was based on the television show To Catch a Predator, and asked whether the conduct of the television producers and police in that show were in violation of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. This year, Michael was also a member of the Student Moot Court Committee and the Student Faculty Mooting and Advocacy Committee. Finally, he coached the U of T team in the Corporate Securities Moot, which U of T won, of course, for a second year in a row. Congratulations. I'm now going to introduce the John Willis Award and the Gina Caldarelli Memorial Prize for School Spirit. The John Willis Award, named in honor of John Willis, professor of the Faculty of Law from 1949 to 1972, is presented annually by the students of the Faculty of Law to a third-year student who has best displayed ingenuity, humor, and enthusiasm, both in the study of law and in the extracurricular life of the law school. The Gina Caldarelli Memorial Prize for School Spirit was established in memory of Gina Caldarelli, who was a member of the class of 1997 at the faculty. This prize recognizes a JD student who has made a substantial and meaningful contribution to the law school and who has best demonstrated interest in the well-being of his or her fellow students. On behalf of her classmates, Danielle Glatt will again present an award. This is the Willis and the Caldarelli Awards.
Hello again. It is my absolute pleasure to announce that this year's recipient of the Willis and Caldarelli Award is Kate Janae. Those of us that have had the good fortune and privilege of spending the last 3 years with Kate Janae understand why she was selected for this award. For family and friends, I'm going to try to explain what Kate means to us and to the law school community. I'll start with her extracurricular involvement, which was extensive. She was co-chair of Women in the Law, student ambassador for the University of Toronto Ontario Bar Association Student Division. She was involved with Pro Bono Students Canada, Downtown Legal Services, Laws, and she was the head choreographer and dancer at Law Follies this year. This award is not just about extracurricular involvement, it's also about spirit, and Kate Janae is the epitome of spirit. And because this award, like the Mewitt Teaching Award, was selected by her peers, I would really like to share some of the comments that my classmates made about Kate. One said that Kate is simply the most bubbly and positive person I have ever met. Another said that Kate is likely responsible for U of T Law's honorable mention for spirit at Law Games this year. That's a big deal. It's a really big deal. Another said that Kate is able to find the upside in even the most stressful situations, and connected to that is that even studying is fun in Kate Janae's My favorite response that I received, and I think the response that really shows who Kate is, said that Kate is probably the most positive person. You're seeing her being here. She is the most positive person I have ever met. I think that it is apparent to all our classmates that this positivity is genuine. We all benefit from it. Not only does Kate make life more fun, and she really, really does. She made the third year class go into a pact that we would attend every single pub night in our last semester of law school. And she is one of the most fantastic dancers you'll ever meet. This is in the email that I got. There's a theme with dancing in our year. She also deeply cares about her peers. I have never met anyone with the capacity to care about so many people at once. The Dean said earlier today at commencement that the future of the University of Toronto Faculty of Law is in our hands, and I can't think of anyone better to trust moving forward with that task. On behalf of the Students' Law Society and the graduating class of 2013, I am pleased to present these awards to Kate Schmidt.
We're supposed to have this. These are yours. Okay.
Thank you, Dana, and congratulations to Kate. The Gordon Cressy Student Leadership Awards recognize students who have made outstanding extracurricular contributions to the Faculty of Law or to the University as a whole. This year, 5 of our students received Cressy Awards, and they are Cliff Anderson, Anna Cooper, Danielle Blatt, Thomas Holmes Skinner, and Albert Lynn. I'm just going to say a little bit about each of them as they come on. Cliff Anderson was a passionate volunteer and mentor with Aboriginal initiatives at the Faculty of Law and the greater community. He volunteered with the Indigenous Law Journal, Downtown Legal Services, and Pro Bono Students Canada, where he assisted with the preparation of legal resources for survivors of the Indian residential school system. He galvanized students and staff to raise $1,500 for the Feed the Homeless program at the Law Society of Upper Canada's annual bowling tournament. Anna Cooper founded the Alternative Dispute Resolution Society last fall to help increase awareness about career opportunities in ADR. She volunteered with the Peer Mentorship Program, which matches upper year students with incoming students, and was a strong supporter of increasing the program's health and wellness mandate. As a member of the Health and Wellness Student Advisory Committee, Anna was instrumental in leading the administration and students in an honest and constructive dialogue about what it means to have a healthy and balanced law school experience. Danielle Blatt dedicated herself to student government in her 2nd and 3rd years while at the Faculty of Law, coordinated all club funding, and organized many vibrant and inclusive events. She represented the law school in the Jessup Moot, led an international human rights program working group, volunteered with O Week, wrote for the student newspaper, and was an avid intramural basketball and ultimate frisbee player. Downtown Legal Services, the Faculty of Law Review, and PBSC also benefited from her volunteerism. Thomas Holmes Skinner was a tireless volunteer dedicated to activities such as O Week 2011, the Peer Mentorship Program, and the Accessibility and Diversity Committee. She was also an ardent supporter of Aboriginal initiatives, was the co-president of the Aboriginal Law Students Association, and a co-organizer of the annual Justice Conference for Aboriginal Youth and the Fall Feast. She also founded the Aboriginal Law Club. And Albert Lynn was the Students' Law Society president in 2012-13, where he worked diligently to advocate for and represent his fellow classmates in student government. He was also the PBSC McCarthy Tatro Internship Volunteer Coordinator and PBSC Toronto Chapter Coordinator. He was an assistant editor of the University of Toronto Law Review, as well as, and unfortunately Albert was unable to attend the ceremony today, so he won't be with us. Please come up and accept your award.
me all choked up there with her, you know that? Yeah. She's so great. Fantastic, you guys. I'm going to jump in with you. Fantastic.
Together, we're very together. Thanks so much. Thank you.
They're still taking pictures. Oh, I'm always chatting.
Thank you.
You're wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So now I have the pleasure of announcing the Dean's Key. I'm the Dean after all. And so the Dean Cecil Wright Dean's Key is presented to the student who has displayed the most interest and the most activity and accomplishment in extracurricular and academic activities. So it really is that blend of the wonderful activities that we have here at the law school, as well as outstanding academic accomplishment. As you can imagine, in a group like this, that's a very challenging thing. Everyone is just terrific here. This year, the Dean's Key is awarded to Rebecca Sutton. As Rebecca wends her way forward, I'm going to tell you just a couple of the amazing things that she's done, and she'll continue to walk up. And she has, as I said, really exemplifies the Dean's Key in combining extracurricular and great academic achievement. So she served as a working group leader in both the International Human Rights Program and also the Asper Center for Constitutional Rights, being very involved in both of those. She also has served as a senior editor of the Indigenous Law Journal. Now, I think all of us would probably particularly recognize Rebecca for her outstanding commitment to human rights and international human rights in particular. She served as an intern at the African Center for Migration and Society in Johannesburg, South Africa. And then, perhaps even more remarkably than that, after her first year of law school, she took a 2-year leave of absence from law school to work for War Child Canada, and worked in that capacity in Darfur, Sudan. She has written and co-published several articles and op-eds about a range of domestic and international human rights issues, and she's also somehow or other found time in the midst of that to be a casework volunteer at DLS in the criminal division. Gets better than that, and so she's done all these amazing things, but she also sits on the board of directors of Toronto Roller Derby. There's sort of a theme of dancing, derbying, and stuff going on here. I cannot imagine someone better to represent all the things that we collectively, and that so many of you exemplify, we all aspire to. Rebecca, I'm thrilled to honor you with the Dean's Key. Here we go. He'll want a picture with that, and so will you. Thank you. So it's almost time to go out and really celebrate. Just one more professor intervening with a short lecture. I don't know, maybe it'll be the hearsay rule, who knows what he might come up with. Every year, as we know, at the very end of this wonderful luncheon, we have a hail and farewell speech given by a professor who is chosen by the members of the graduating class to send them off with a few words. And I am just delighted to say that this year's professor is Professor Hamish Stewart, and he is going to send you off with a hail and farewell before he does, let me just say, I want, many people made this event really wonderful. Alexis Archibald has not been mentioned, but she's been up here all day. She does, as I think we all know, incredible work for the students and is always keen to try to think about how to improve the student experience. So I'd like to acknowledge Alexis. Along with Alexis, all the other wonderful staff that make an event like this possible. Many of us are able to get up here and look relatively coherent because other people do a whole lot of wonderful things for us. And since Hamish is sending you off with hail and farewell, this will be my formal goodbye to you, class 2013. I have to say I was getting a little choked up when I was sitting there and just so inspired by everything you've done and everything that we all know that you will go out in the world and do. But as Martha said, we're going to really miss you. It's just been absolutely wonderful, and congratulations.
Hail to the class of 2013. It is a great honor for me to have been asked to speak to you today. It really means a lot to me, and I want to thank the class of 2013 for giving me this opportunity. But I should begin with a warning. My children, who are in a better position to know than anyone else, have told me more than once that regardless of what venue I speak in, or regardless of the size of the audience, whatever I say always ends up turning into a lecture. And May alerted you to that possibility as well in her opening remarks. And I think that, I think that may happen, so I should warn you about that now. You began your journey through law school in a politically dispiriting time in the fall of 2010, and as Professor Stein reminded us this morning, you're ending your journey through law school in a politically dispiriting time as well. Despite that, or maybe because of that, despite the continuing fallout from the financial crisis of 2008 and the difficult economic times that we all face, you have been a wonderful class, hardworking, cheerful, kind to each other, reasonably kind to the faculty. I mean, it's been a real pleasure to know you. Now, I did not teach you in first year. I was teaching 2 lots of evidence that year instead of first year criminal law. And so I didn't get to know you in the same way that I would if we had had a first year together in the Bennett Lecture Hall with my sort of semi-Socratic method that I use in my teaching. But I saw a lot of you in evidence where you, as other faculty have commented, pressed me hard with questions, made me rethink things I had taken for granted for years, and caused me to write more explanatory memos to you than I'm really accustomed to doing. I hope that my answers in my memos were satisfactory, and if they weren't, well, I'm not going anywhere, so you know where to find me. When I think of this class, though, I did know many of you in evidence, but when I think of this class, I think of you more in terms of your extracurricular activities. So many of the people that I specifically wanted to mention have already been mentioned, or their accomplishments have been celebrated, so I'm not going to mention anyone by name. Matt Brown. I'm not going to mention anyone else by name, because that would take a long time. But I would like to say how much I enjoyed seeing so many of you in the moot court. It was a wonderful experience for me. And I would like to say also how pleased I am that this class was able to carry on the tradition of the SLS Coffee House, a relatively recent tradition in law school's history, but one that I hope will continue. Not every group of students that I have known has the mutual respect and affection for each other that makes it possible for them to put themselves out there and perform in that way for each other, and it's a wonderful thing that you were able to do that. Now, here comes a lecture. There are 3 points that I would like to make in this lecture. First, I would like to explain to you, you can think of this, if you like, as the bonus track to the CD of your law school experience, or the encore at the end of the concert. First I want to explain to you something which you have probably intuited in some sense, but maybe not thought about as much as one should. First, that legal reasoning is in many ways like a game of rock, paper, scissors. You want to explain why that is. Second, you may find this worrisome, that legal reasoning is rock, paper, scissors, and so I'm going to try to say why this shouldn't worry you. And third, I'm going to say why it matters to you that legal reasoning has this character. Now, for those of you who don't remember the game, paper covers rock, scissors cut paper, but rock crushes scissors, and so on and so on. One can go around the circle. Now, in the law, in legal reasoning, at least in Canada, the rock is the common law, but paper covers rock. So, what is paper? Statutes are paper. They are superior to the common law. But scissors cut paper. What are scissors? Scissors are the Constitution. You can use it to cut bits out of statutes that you don't like and get rid of them. But if we carry this analogy through, then we would have to conclude that rock crushes scissors, that the common law is somehow superior to the Constitution. This is a shocking proposition. How can this be? It's certainly not something you will find any court saying officially, because it would be contrary to our whole idea of the authority of the different sources of law. So how can it be? How can I say to you that the common law is like rock that crushes the Constitution of scissors? I say that because the common law is a set of rules and principles and forms of reasoning that can be drawn on in legal reasoning at any level, whether it's in statutory interpretation or in constitutional interpretation, or in understanding the relationship between the Constitution and statutes. The common law is always an available resource for this purpose. And I say this because particular legal rules and principles are not constitutional or statutory because of their content. They're constitutional or statutory or common law rules because of their source of authority. And so any principle could appear at any level at any time, depending on how the argument unfolds. And this is why one sometimes sees the law having this cyclical structure. Students who were in evidence law last term may remember my remarks on the case of Ontario against the Criminal Lawyers Association, which is very much a case where the common law rock crushes the constitutional scissors. Another good example, which I'll spend a little bit more time on, is the case of Corbett, which I hope you'll all remember from evidence law. Now you remember the problem in Corbett. Imagine an accused person in a criminal trial who's going to testify, has decided to testify. May he be questioned on the fact of his criminal record? May he be asked questions about his criminal record, if he has one? Now, as it turns out, there's no common law authority on this question for historical reasons, which I can explain after class if you like. But I predict that if this was a question of first impression at common law, the answer would be, it depends on the exercise of the trial judge's discretion to exclude evidence whose probative value is outweighed by its prejudicial effect. It would be up to the judge to decide in a particular case, depending on the issues, depending on what was relevant and what was not, whether these questions could be asked. However, we have a statute governing this matter, Section 12 of the Canada Evidence Act. Paper covers rock. The statute says any witness, including the accused, may be questioned. And before 1988, this statute was interpreted to exclude that common law discretion of the trial judge. Paper covers rock. And that's more or less what Justice McIntyre says in his concurring judgment in Corbett. He doesn't actually say paper covers rock, but the reasoning, but that's the form of his reasoning in Corbett. If you look at it, you'll see what I mean. But, of course, now we have a charter. We have a guarantee of a fair trial right in Section 11B of the charter. There's lots of empirical evidence that was reviewed in Justice Laforier's reasons at some length as to how this rule, permitting the accused to be questioned on his criminal record, can make the trial unfair. So you might think, as the charter applicants urged in that case, that this rule should not apply to the accused for constitutional reasons. Scissors cuts paper. And yet, if you remember the case, you'll remember the answer the court gives to this problem is, it depends on the trial judge's exercise of his or her discretion to exclude excessively prejudicial evidence. Rock crushes scissors. The common law wins. Even though we have the charter, even though we have a statute, nonetheless, the common law wins. Now, the way the common law wins, of course, is by a combination of statutory interpretation and constitutional considerations. But it's a very striking example of how what is essentially a common law principle can become a constitutional principle by the operation of these types of arguments. Now you might think that this is a little worrisome. The key of rock, paper, scissors is it's cyclical. It goes round and round and round. And so you wonder, where is the predictability? Where is the rule of law? Where is the proper division of functions between the legislature and the court if legal reasoning is just a game of rock, paper, scissors? I say, don't worry about it. Because this is an inevitable byproduct of any system where disputes are settled adversarially and argumentatively and are settled authoritatively by people who have the power to decide based on the arguments that they have heard. This is inevitably going to happen in this kind of system, so don't worry about it.